This is our document B for the Great Wall of China DBQ. It's a letter. So the first thing, is this a primary or secondary source? A primary source, remember, was written by someone who was there at the time the Great Wall was built. So if we look at our document, the sourcing information up here says excerpts. That means parts taken out of a letter written by Chao Kuo, Imperial Secretary of the Han Dynasty, written to Emperor Wen in 169 BCE. So let's see, if this person was a secretary for the Han Dynasty writing to the emperor, pretty sure that means he was there when the wall was built. So we checked our source information. It tells us he was there, so that means this must be a primary source. Because it's a primary source, we're going to use this target, and you'll get a grade on just this document. So use a primary source to explain the actions, beliefs, or life practices of an individual or group of people in an era of time. That means we're going to be looking at what did they do and why did they do it. The beliefs of the Chinese about the Xiongnu is something else we're going to find out in this letter. We're still looking at the costs and benefits about ancient China as well. Here is a quick picture. This letter talks about the Xiongnu and describes them in ancient China. Here are some pictures that I found that go along with that. This one is from a modern art display. Well, I mean, reasonably modern. I don't know how recent exactly, but it's not ancient art. This is what one artist thinks it may have looked like to be with a Xiongnu maybe around this time, maybe a little bit later. But notice the houses in the background. They're using carts made out of wood with wheels, and they have horses. Looks like they have some kind of furs or something. I'm not sure what it is on these rolls, but you can see what it might have looked like then. And then here you can see kind of what the landscape looks like in Mongolia right now. These boys are Mongolians, so in history we call them Mongols. However, in modern times, people from Mongolia we call Mongolians. And these boys are still descended from the ancient Xiongnu Mongols. So let's take a look at that letter then. Oh wait, first let's take a look at the notes. So the letter's a primary source. We're looking for how did the Xiongnu live? What were they doing? Where were they? Something about hunting. And who was going to be sent to the border? All right. So looking back at our slides. With this letter, remember I said we're looking at the beliefs? What did the Chinese believe? This is the Chinese perspective. What did they think was the main differences between the lifestyle or culture between the Xiongnu and the Chinese people? And then what does the emperor suggest what does the emperor's advisor suggest the emperor should do? Those are answered in this letter. So here we go with reading it. And before we start, this note, Chao Kuo, an advisor to several Han emperors, so he was around for a long time. He was highly respected for his ideas about the military and border defense. The recommendations made in this letter were adopted, so the Chinese Emperor Wen did what Chao Kuo was suggesting. So here is a description. We're going to read this first part up to the ellipsis, and I want you to listen and just think about what is he saying about the Xiongnu and how is he describing them? Kind of paint a picture in your mind from this description. The Xiongnu live on meat and cheese, wear furs, and possess no house or field. They move like birds and animals in the wild. They stop only at places which abound in grass and water, want of which will start them moving again. Today the Xiongnu are herding at several places and hunting along the frontiers. So I'm going to pause there. Just go ahead and sketch what you can. And then I'm going to read it again, only put it in language like we maybe use when we're talking to each other more. The Xiongnu live on meat and cheese, wear furs, and don't own a house or fields. They move around like birds and animals in the wild. They only stop at places that have lots of grass and water, and if there's not enough grass and water, they start moving again. Today, the Xiongnu are keeping their herds of livestock or horses at several places, and they're hunting along the frontiers of China. So go ahead and pause here, add more to your picture, your illustration at the bottom, and also take a moment to answer these first couple questions about were they nomads or farmers, and what were they doing? This is pretty much straight from the text. We're going to get to this next one about who is going to be sent to the border next. All right, we're back, ready to go on and talk about what Chao Kuo was suggesting that the emperor do. So we'll start by reading the text as it's written, the rest of it, and then I'll read it again in the way we would talk. It will be profitable to you to dispatch generals and officials together with troops to govern the frontier areas. People, such as slaves, convicts, and willing peasants, should be selected to settle along the border areas permanently, who can set up families and grow food grains while getting prepared against possible invasion by the Xiongnu. For the immigrants in such border areas, the government will construct walled cities, well protected by high walls, deep moats, catapults, and thorns. Each city along strategic points and thoroughfares will be designed to hold no fewer than 1,000 households. Each walled city will have an inner wall and an outer wall 150 paces, or about 209 meters, apart. Each residential area in the outer wall area is to be surrounded by sandy fields to detect the intrusion of enemies in the night. Intruders will leave footprints in the soil. So, once again, I'm going to say pause it, take a moment. Several of these notes are taken directly from the text, so you probably can find those right now. And then I'm going to reread it in our everyday language. So here we go. It would be a good idea to send the military and other officials to govern the frontier areas. People like slaves, criminals, and peasants who want to go should be selected to move to the border areas and live there. They can set up their families and grow food, and at the same time they can get prepared in case the Xiongnu decide to invade. For those immigrants, the government will build walled cities with high walls, deep moats, catapults, so weapons that throw big rocks, and thorns. If you remember from watching the video about the Great Wall of China, they kept showing this watermelon splatting against these big spikes. That's what they mean by thorns here. So each city along strategic points and thoroughfares. Thoroughfares, that's a main road. What was that road? Oh yeah, I bet they're talking about the Silk Road here. So these cities are probably going to be built along the Silk Road, and they'll be designed to hold at least 1,000 families. Each walled city will have 2 walls, one inner wall and outer wall, and they're going to be about 600 feet apart. Each residential area, each part of the town where people live, where the houses are, in the outer wall area, is to be surrounded by sandy fields so they can tell if an enemy came in the night, because the enemy, the intruder, would leave footprints in the sand. So, right now it is time for you to go ahead and finish up any notes, and then before you go on with the questions, or after, you choose, you need to look at the cost-benefit analysis. This one would tell you several things about the costs. What are some of those people? So some of those people, the slaves and the criminals, the convicts, do they have a choice in coming? Are they having to give up something? Are they not going to like something about this? And benefits. The people who choose to go, why might they choose to? Is there a benefit here? And what are the good things about building the wall that might help these people feel better about the move? I can see both costs and benefits in this source, so try to find a few of each. Remember, you can talk with your classmates and share ideas about the costs and benefits. Go ahead and finish up that page, and then you're ready to go on to document C.